Welcome to Ignite 2.0 Vodcast by young adults for young adults.
I'm Josiah Wimberly.
And I'm Anthony Smith, and
we're
we're
the
the hosts
hosts
of
of
Ignite
Ignite
2.0.
2.0.
Now, you guys might be wondering, what does Ignite 2.0 mean? Well, we feel that Ignite 2.0 is the next stage of our growth into young adults. Now, me and Josiah have been members for Crenshaw Christian Center for many years. We can explain plenty of memories we've made here and all the knowledge we learned. Josiah can speak a little bit more about it.
Right. We've been a part of team ministry for years.
Yeah,
and what
man.
we do is we live Christ, we love people, we teach people, and we inspire others to do the same. Ignite 2.0 means that we have elevated to the next level as young adults.
So, bro, now that we, transitioned from teen to young adult, do you feel like you fully made that transition? Do you still feel like you're still at that teen level? Or do you want to go back or?
I definitely don't want to go back. But I definitely feel like there's been a transition just for the simple fact that you have more responsibility,
Right.
More freedom, and if you make a mistake, it's really on you. Like when you're a minor, you might not get the same punishment or treatment.
Right.
Some people might let you go.
Yeah.
But when you get older in age, it's really on you. You don't get no second chances, or you don't get the benefit of the doubt, I should say.
Right.
What do you miss about being a teen?
Man, one thing I could say is moms always used to come through with that clutch money when you're trying to go out or you get something to eat.
Right.
My mom, she always would give me some money, just extra money, go out shopping.
Or
Whatever.
the food,
man,
plate, yeah.
You can't take that for granted. That's definitely a perk that I miss being a teen. Yeah.
Same. That's the play from moms. That's what I miss the most. That
Man.
every day, multiple times a day, that was the best.
Man, sure was.
So today is being Gen Z. I didn't really know nothing about no generations, so I looked it up. So the first one I found was the silent generation, which was 78 to 95 years old. I believe that that's like my grandmother's age, so those are some people in my life that's important to me. What about you?
Definitely my grandparents. One thing I can say that they've impacted me in my life was really rudiments in that spiritual lifestyle and being in the Word. There's countless times that my grandma or grandpa has told me, like, get your head in the Word, know your scripture, walk by faith.
Right.
And, it's helped me along my life so far. So I would definitely say my grandparents is definitely fits in that generation.
Right, and I agree. My grandparents have definitely kept me rooted and grounded on this journey.
Yeah.
The next generation is baby boomers, and their age range is from 59 to 77. And I don't think I have anyone in that age range. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that one's a little tricky because I feel like they can fluctuate between silent and baby boomers depending on when your grandparents were born.
Right.
I know for me, I have a greater aunt who kind of fits that description of baby boomers. For me, the old school music, just the vibes in general, just really old school, taking it back.
Right. Next we have Generation X, and their age range is from 43 to 58. So that would be like our parents.
Yeah, right.
What can I say? My mom is my rock. She's taking care of me. Introduced me to God. There's not enough words I can say. You already know how that is.
Shout out to Miss Steps.
And my dad as well. I got to give him credit because he taught me the mindset I need to have as a man. So there are some things we need to work out, but I love my dad.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Man, same thing. We both grew up, so my moms and my pops.
Right.
My mom's, man, what can I say about her? She's always there for me, always caring for me. She always goes the extra mile, even when I don't want her to. She still just.
That's a fact.
So shout out to moms for that. And then my dad, man, what can I say about my dad? He's just cool and content. I feel like that's where I get my personality from. Everybody knows me for being like really content. I'm not really here. I'm not really low.
Very humble.
I'm in that medium, and I'm very humble. I feel like I get that from my dad. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Next, we got millennials, and their age range is from 27 to 42. So that would be like our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, man.
Man, for real. What can I say? Words can't explain. You know, my siblings, they're my first best friends, you know. Leani, Aaron, Michael, those are my partners.
Yeah.
And I love them. Even though some of y'all got on my nerves a little bit, I still love y'all though.
Yeah.
What about you though?
Man, same here, bro. You know, Ari, Brooke,
Yup.
sister Maya. Y'all know, everybody know Ari and Brooke. So, all of my sisters. I'm the only boy, so, and I'm the youngest. But
I'm the youngest too.
Yep. So you already know how it goes. But for me, you know, being the youngest, they've been like almost like extra moms in my life. So they always looking out, always taking care of me, always making sure I'm good. I never have to need for anything or want for anything. Yeah, they just always been that help and guidance for me.
Right. Next, we got Gen Z, and their age range is from 11 to 26.
That's us.
Yeah, that's us. I appreciate you, my guy. Next is Generation Alpha, and that's from infants to 10 years old. So that's the young ones coming up. You got the youngest?
I do. I got a little cousin. Shout out to my little cousin Jax. One thing about her, she's very inspiring because she's herself at such a young age, and it's like a lot of people struggle with their identity. Speaking of Gen Z, because of social media and all that, and she's like this bright burst of energy, and I feel like I get inspired by that because she's just who she is, and she doesn't care.
Absolutely. I have some young people in my life as well. I have 2 nieces, a nephew named Jace. I got a cousin named Andre. And they're, like you said, it's just inspiring. Seeing them come up, seeing them go on their journey, they're learning. And it makes me hold myself accountable because I know they're looking at me, so I gotta do the right thing.
How do we know the ages of our generation? What does that mean to us?
Exactly. I'm not sure what it means to us, but I do know that some people think that we're self-absorbed. They think we don't work hard, and they say we can't communicate. Like, they bring up points saying that we'll be sitting right next to each other, but we'll still be on our phone. I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of true. I do see that. I feel as though our generation might be a little more socially awkward because of technology, but I feel as though we can communicate.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's pros and cons to it. I think as long as you're able to balance, for example, like code switching. When you go into a business environment, you talk a certain way.
Right.
When you chilling with your friends, you talk a different way. So it's the same thing with texting. If I'm gonna text my mom, I'm gonna text her a little bit more proper. If I'm texting my homies, I'm gonna be like, you know, hit me up.
Right.
You know, something like that.
Simple.
So, yeah, it comes with its ups and downs. But I definitely think if you know how to balance, then it makes the communication better.
Right. Yeah. And they do have a point. Like if you're at a restaurant or something, like you don't need to be on your phone.
Yeah.
Like
certain things.
Right. Right. But sometimes you just be chilling. Like you don't want to talk to nobody, but you just want to be on your own. I don't know everything, but I do know someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yes, we have a guest speaker who's gonna break it down just a little bit more. We'll be right back. Now we know the ages of each generation. What does that mean to us?
Exactly. My bad. Say it again. Wait, is you saying it or I'm saying it? No, you say it because you.
I said.
Okay, you said it.
All right.
And being in the Word, I can count countless times. That didn't make no sense. I said I can count countless times. We are back talking about our Gen Z generation. Now, I get that our age makes us Gen Z, but I want to know, how did we get here? Like, what was the process?
Man, me too. And I'm hoping our special guest today can really break it down for us. Join us now. is athletic director and coach for Crenshaw Crescent Center, Kelly Parkinson's.
How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. How you
Good,
doing?
Good. Doing all
How you
right.
doing, man?
All right. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So what's up? What's going on? What's this all about? Just the different generations and.
Yeah, you know, we're Gen Z,
Uh-huh.
and so we're just looking at all the different generations and seeing how we affect each other and how they're different.
Well, I tell you what, it's definitely different, right? Especially Gen Z, and if we go back like 100 years, started with the silent generation, which I think you guys were talking about earlier. When you think about the silent generation and its social impact that they had to deal with was the civil rights movement. Economically, they had they had to deal with the Great Depression. But then the next generation, the baby boomers, right, which is it's a pretty popular generation. Everybody knows that the baby boomers were instrumental in the post Civil War era.
Right.
So you got a lot of manufacturing jobs happening here. Their social impact had a lot to do with, building out economies, especially in the technology sector. And then the Christian worldview that they learned from the silent generation. But the silent generation had a more family-based Christian worldview, mother, father in the home, things of that nature. Baby boomers had a sense of morality from that.
Right.
But when you fast forward to the Generation X, right, which is my generation, then we get to the service-based economy, right? A lot more technology going on, and then and it's if you guys got questions, feel free to jump in.
Right.
But when you get to the millennials, and what they were again service-based, the Uber, right, all those kind of app-based services, and their impact, and then you get to Generation Z, and Generation Z goes, great, I love that. Let me just put it on TikTok. So, it's like, it's totally different, but it's a lot more going on there, right? Especially when you start thinking about some of the other societal impact and their Christian worldview.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think we do put a lot of stuff on TikTok, but what a lot of people don't know is TikTok can also be very informal. So for TikTok, right, you can go on there and search up any recipe you want, any diet, remedy, anything that you want to help yourself, knowledge. A lot of that stuff you can just search up, and it's a video right there on about the historical facts on it. So I think it's pros and cons and it's ups and downs, but yeah, it's definitely a TikTok generation.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's important though that the generation figure out how to connect the dots though, especially when you're looking at how Christ fits into it. Again, with the silent generation, traditional home values, get to the middle of that to Generation X, where there became more of what you call a disaffiliation with religion. And millennials had an even more disaffiliation with a religion. But Generation Z, not only do they have a disaffiliation with religion, Generation Z have more of a inward look, where they're concerned about their own personal authenticity above any religion, but more importantly, what God would have to say.
Now, I have a question. As you know, we are Gen Z. What generation are you? I ain't trying to put you on the spot, my guy.
Generation X.
Okay, so what, aside from, the TikTok and everything, what are your, what's the biggest difference? What do you see?
Between Generation X and...
Or let me ask this, what are the pros and cons of your generation that you think?
Actually, you know what, that's a very well put question. I think first of all, it's going to be subjective, right?
Right,
based off where you come from. But just looking at I guess in my community, there's the pros and cons in my generation is that one of the pros is that we were the bridge between the baby boomers. Economically speaking, there was the baby boomers who was at the forefront of the technology advancement, right? So you got your where .com was being developed. Generation X took .com and e-commerce and built that out, right? And that's where the millennials took it and put more entrepreneurship into it. The con in my generation, it's kind of hard to come up with one because I'm a little biased. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and was discussing having this conversation with you guys. And I asked, well, what's wrong with us? They said nothing. I said, yeah, we're the perfect generation. So, but I'm a little biased about what our con can be, but I would say this from a spiritual standpoint. I think the disassociation and the decline in member base in the church started in Generation X.
And I asked you that question because I feel like it's important that the older generation listens to the younger generation and the younger listen to the older, because you guys obviously have seen more than us, know more than us, so we need to listen to y'all. But the young generation, we are creating a new path and we're leading the way. So that's why I feel like the older generation needs to listen to us as well. And that way everybody grows and gets better.
Yeah, you're right. There's scripture that talks about honor, right? 1 Peter 2:17, honor all people, love thy brother, fear God, honor the king. And the message I get out of that scripture when we talk about generation is your generation, my generation, all others has a responsibility to love everyone. But then also think that not only are we supposed to love everybody, we're supposed to also be guides to the younger generation.
Right.
While you're the hero in your story, right? Because who's the hero in your story?
Us.
Right. You still need a guide to get you to the end, right? To get you to that goal of whatever that is and whatever that looks like.
Most definitely. Going back to TikTok, the older generation, they just see us on our phones, and it's not just TikTok. There's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. It used to be Kick. That's a throwback.
That's
huh?
a throwback. Yeah.
But the older generation, they see it as just us being on our phones, but we see it as we're working. There's content creation. He spoke on a point saying that it's information that we're trying to get.
There's revenue streams you can make on social media. I think it's a whole new wave opening up for our generation. I think, like you said, Generation X were the starts of it. Millennials, they put their twist on it. And then now that it's emerged into this big thing, Gen Z is now putting our taste on it. It's just our spin on it.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you that Gen Z has totally adapted the social media and its technology probably better than the previous generation, right? You have AI now. And obviously the creators of that type of technology may have come from like the millennials and Generation X, but it's not about who created it, right? It's about who's adopting it and using it well. And I would say that Generation Z is doing a great job with monetizing it. My question, though, right, is how do you take the use of it and the adoption of it and pour it back into either your communities, whether we're talking about religious, your own peers, and just using it in a way that uplifts other people?
That's a great question. And as Christians, that's our number one focal point, is uplifting people. Like we said, we live Christ, love people, teach people, repeat. So that has to be a part of our social media or whatever we're doing. We have to give it to God. And if we do that, then people, we're going to naturally help people, whatever we do. Anthony, he's a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have an all sports facility. So, and we're going to use social media to promote what we want to do, and we're going to give it to God, and that's how we're going to help people. He's going to get people more fit. I'm gonna help the youth with whatever sports they want to play, and that's how I think we're going to uplift people through God with this new age of technology that we have.
And that's also why we're doing this podcast, Vodcast, today, is to pour back into our community because being here, raised here at Crenshaw Christian Center, starting Ignite 1.0 when we were just, children
Right.
and teens, they built and installed in us a sense of community. So we're doing this now to give back to our younger generation and also give a voice to the older generation so they see where we're coming from, how we're thinking, and they're able to adapt more and they're able to learn us more, And so yeah, that's how we can use media to our advantage. So speaking of the Vodcast, Coach, what are your thoughts and your opinions on what we're doing here today?
First of all, I think it is important that you're doing it. There's two sides to it. There's where you're actually involved in it and you're doing it and you're putting out content that's one important to you, but that to people that's your age can relate to. The other reason why I think it's important is because there's obviously some righteousness to it. You're connecting with not only just your generation, there's the Generation Alpha, right, which right behind you, and you may have some millennials checking this out, and also some Generation X people like myself, and maybe some boomers. I think it's important that this content is put out there so they can understand you better, and then that creates an opportunity for this discussion and for all the different topics that you have, so that way people outside of your generation and maybe including your generation have an opportunity and platform to connect and start that discussion.
Right.
Appreciate that.
And I also think it's important because in order for us as Generation Z to get better, we need to know about ourselves and learn about ourselves, learn what's wrong, and that's how we'll grow and get better. We, out of all the generations, we go to church the least. Our generation, it's a lot of, I believe there's something up there. I don't know if it's God or whatever, but I really believe that's another reason why this podcast is important.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. And I think one of the factors of that is actually from Gen X and baby boomer generations, because a lot of the direction of church and how it's structured and how it's presented to us wasn't really in a positive light. Like, for instance, if you hear a lot of Gen Zs, they'll say, a lot of church folk, they judgmental, or, they're hypocrites. They'll say one thing, and then as soon as they leave the church, they act in a different way. So when the Gen Z, as we're looking up at these people as we grow up, we start to adapt, and we're like, y'all say all this, that, but y'all not living the Christ life. So it's like, what does it mean to be a Christian? Like, why should I be a Christian? And it kind of supposes the question, like, is there a God? Because y'all act like this towards me, and I don't feel appreciated. So where is this God that you guys are seeking or coming from? I'm not sure if you can speak on that a little bit, but I think that's the reason why, our generation has lacked the presence of church.
It's an interesting question because, I'm gonna back it up a little bit, right? To where we talked about the silent generation and how that generation had a more deep and profound and rooted way in their traditional values, especially in the home setting. And then you got the baby boomers who are more or less now the leadership in most churches, and they're still stuck in some antiquated ways that are just not flexible. So they're like your grandparents and parents and my parents. And so when you see something that's obviously different than what you're told to ask, it's kind of hard to follow suit, right? And it is hypocritical if someone says, hey, this is how I want you to be, and then you find them out on the news having this kind of type of situation, or whatever that situation is. Right. Trying not to point out any specifics. Whatever that may be, though, right? And so, so I understand your plight with that, where you're talking about, your generation does not attend church in the numbers that previous generation has. I still will argue that it's still important for your generation to, preach the gospel and seek and save the lost.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.
So given that information, how would you go about influencing your own peers, Generation Z, to attend the church?
from what I've heard from my generation, what I've heard the most is they say that how could God let certain things happen? How could He let these people do this to other people? I'm not gonna be specific, but what I would do is I would try to show them all the good that God has done, because they're just so focused on the negative, negative, negative. But look at all the positive He's done. Look at your life. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I would try to bring my generation to the church. I would try to show them all the good He has done, all the blessings He's bestowed upon them, and I would try to change their mindset to make it more positive based. You know, stop being so rooted in negativity.
I agree. For me, I would say just showing the way and being a leader. I think for my generation, they want authenticity. So for me, I think just being real for my generation. They don't want to see a stuck-up Christian that's like, you got to be perfect.
Facts.
Piggyback what Josiah said. When Gen Zs look at Christians, they look at trying not to sin instead of being Christ-like. That's a difference. So when you're always trying to focus on not sinning, you're going to sin instead of being Christ-like. Let me love somebody. Let me go give somebody $1 real quick, bro. Let me go give you a hug. Check up on my bro. Something like that. Things like that, I feel will bring them more into the church, as opposed to just, trying not to sin, or, trying to refrain from everything.
Right, and piggybacking off of Anthony, like he said, we need to understand that no, you're not perfect. Like when we say we want you to be a Christian or we want you to follow Christ, we're not saying you're about to be perfect. You're going to do this, but it's just not true, and that's how we view it. And I think once we get our generation to understand that this is a journey, you're still human, that they'll come to Christ.
I was going to agree. So actually, first of all, everything you guys just said is super powerful. I think if I was to answer that same question, that would be my answer. Living the life that you would want other people to follow is better than actually saying that you should be saved. If you live a righteous life that is saved, right, filled with the Holy Spirit, people should see that and wonder, right? Hey, how did that person get there? And if they come and they approach you, you say, you know what, I give all the glory to God.
Right. Man, we can talk about this all day, but I want to thank you, Mr. Kelly, for joining us. I appreciate you. Great information.
I'm not sure if you can speak on that a little bit, but I think that's the reason why, our generation has lacked the presence of church.
Yeah, so
Let's do it.
I can respond to that.
What's up, y'all? Today, we learned a lot about being a Gen Z young adult. What did you learn?
Man, I learned a lot. I absolutely had no idea about the history of other generations and how much we benefited as they passed things down to us.
What I learned was something you said. I had no idea that you could search any type of information you want on TikTok, whether it be how to make some tea or how to do this hairstyle. Yeah. I didn't know you could specifically ask for that type of information. I thought it was just dance videos. But we hope you've enjoyed Ignite 2.0 Vodcast for young adults by young adults. If you want to be a part of Ignite 2.0, you can record your comments or questions and send your video clip to our Dropbox. Your clip may be chosen and aired in our show. For details, log on to the link on the screen.
As Gen Zers, young adults, one thing we have learned and lived by is to
walk by faith and not by sight. See ya.